Artists in Bonanza Park, opting to partner with Dakota Pacific and Kimball Junction. What is the city's responsibility, if any, to foster arts and culture?
But we have a giant responsibility. I mean, that simply said, let's start there. And I saw all these here tonight. Thank you for coming. It's a great opportunity for the city to work with the Kimball Arts Center. They got an exciting opportunity out at that new parcel. It's more land, it's more open land. They can do more, they can deliver to their vision. And while we're bummed they're leaving, it's gonna be great for the entire community. What we can do as we look at that 5-acre parcel is how do we activate the Park City community around it? How do we do workshops? How do we have education classes? How do we work with the Kimball Arts Center, the University of Utah, the Arts Council, dance studios, music outlets, and really bring people out to express all these different forms of art and leverage the experts in our community to help us do it. And that's where we're gonna go next. We have actually an open house coming on Monday the 20th, 2 of them during the day, and then we'll be discussing it at that next council meeting. And look forward to the public's engagement as we do prioritize working with those expert organizations in our community.
Yes, I absolutely think it's critical, and I, for one, enjoy having all of these different types of events. I think they bring an amazing culture to our city. I loved the Song Summit. I hope that they decide that they want to return. We're also looking at as Jeremy mentioned, the 5-acre. We're looking at a space that could be an open space for different nonprofits in our town, so theater and song and ballet could come in and use that space and really open it up to the public. The PC Create has been a successful program. I think the Summit County Arts Council has just finished their strategic plan, and they'll be coming back to us to help us understand as Summit County where we are missing arts, what our opportunities are, and where we can actually grow the program together by partnering with different organizations.
Yeah, I think it's critically important that the city play a role. I want to see us work collaboratively with the Arts Council to see what we can program, not only at the 5-acre parcel, but beyond. Tana mentioned Create PC. That is a wonderful space where local artists get to display their art in a way that may have not happened on Main Street, given the cost of rent. The other reason why I think it's important is that the arts bring people together. Whether it's a movie here at the Santee through Park City Film, or an exhibit at the Kimball Arts Center. There's a ton of opportunities for us to support the arts. I think it's glue that brings people together. Again, the Arts Council has done wonderful things. It's managed events that bring folks from all walks of life. And I'd love for us to continue being involved in that and investing robustly in that space.
The next question, beginning with Tana, is the Larry H. Miller Company, which owns property at Richardson Flat, has expressed interest in working with the city to develop the area. How do you plan to approach this?
Well, it definitely needs to be a partnership that happens out in the forefront with the community involved in that. That space of Richardson Flat was a transfer agreement for this Flagstaff agreement. So the density was transferred so that we could build the Montage and build all of these giant millionaire homes up in Deer Valley. I, for one, if I would have known this would be happening 30 years ago, I would have said, you can build at Richardson Flat. We'll keep open space at Montage. So we need to be very careful when we think about, this was annexed into Park City as open space and recreation. That should have been a golf course, or it could be, at this point it could be anything if we're not gonna go with golf course, but it was annexed to remain open space and recreation. So if Larry H. Miller would like to develop on it, they need to come to us with a plan, and the community needs to say, okay, we're okay with this plan. I personally don't wanna see anything like a Dakota Pacific out there. I am not in favor of us trading anything for giant development there.
Thanks, Tana. Yeah, I feel similarly about this. On the campaign trail, I have yet to hear from anyone that is looking for more sprawl. They have not expressed interest in that. And look, if it's something that the Larry H. Miller Company wants to pursue, it should be a conversation, it should be a negotiation, and top of mind should be, what is the benefit to you all? What is the benefit to our locals and to our neighbors? Will it provide transit solutions? Could it provide housing solutions? And also recognize there's this looming power of the state that helped Dakota Pacific happen. I want to be really careful about that and make sure that if this is going to happen, that we're at the negotiating table and that we are in control of our own destiny and not just let it happen to us.
Yeah, job number one here is that it has to be transparent, right? If it's not transparent, we shouldn't be doing it. It should happen in the open, it should happen with our community, and whatever we do should reflect what our community wants us to do. Again, that's our job as elected officials. Also, we have to preserve open space, right? It's tough to look at open space being carved out and rezoned for development and for high density when you don't explore all options. So how do you do that? You put everything on the table and you work through it. This Richardson Flats area, it does have a legacy, and it would be something that would be quite the discussion, I'm sure, with the community. The park and ride out there to activate was even tough to do. It was a discussion on council a few years ago when Tana and I first joined, if we could even do that. And narrowly, we moved forward with it. It's been a wild success, double-digit growth year over year. The community loves it. If we can make some small improvements there and make that even better, great. Do we want to build another city? Probably not.
Starting with Diego. This afternoon, Park City announced it will give a 4-acre parcel near the Home Depot back to Summit County for Recycle Utah's future operations. How much should the city contribute financially to build a new facility?
I think the city should look at contributing something. What I would like to understand, and I have been talking with board members of Recycle Utah, is what the scope of the project might be. I think we have a role and responsibility, as well as Summit County. That would be a conversation to be had with the county, who traditionally, counties are responsible for waste management, and I recognize this is a community benefit, and it has been for 30 years. I can't imagine our community without Recycle Utah, and I would like to consider some level of investment to be determined by the scope of the project and what kind of partnership we can enter into with Summit County, as well as community members. There's likely an opportunity here to step up for Recycle Utah. It's a nonprofit at the end of the day, and if we can support it in a philanthropic way, I think that would be a tremendous partnership for our entire community.
So I was really excited to hear that the announcement was coming today. Been right in the middle of this one, raised it at a number of public meetings over the past few months, and the frustration, I think, was pretty clear to the community, especially based on the feedback that the council received, and that I specifically received in thanks for raising the issue and daylighting it when these talks were bouncing around. Recycle Utah is really a critical component of our sustainability initiatives, and it's something we need as an investment in our community to meet our waste diversion goals and to really be who we say we are, which is so important. So the city absolutely should invest in it. There's some easy math we can do. If you haul this waste off further, it costs us multiples higher than putting it somewhere around here. We support Recycle Utah financially today. We should continue to support Recycle Utah financially tomorrow. And we should work with the county in collaboration to carve that out appropriately.
You'd asked the question about what I've been hearing the most about from people over the last 6 months, and Recycle Utah is definitely probably number one or number two when we were talking about the environment. One of the things we did ask for as a council was to have Recycle Utah bring to us their feasibility study and their design and their direction of what they want to see built. And so I don't know what the number would be that the city would contribute to that. We still are going to be looking at that design. One of the things that's really important for me at this new recycle center, though, is a food digester. I think it's absolutely critical that our zero food waste goal is prominent here. We visited Sun Valley in 2022, and they had something called a chompy, which is a food digester, and it was phenomenal to see how the food waste was then taken and then used as compost to create community gardens. And I think we have a great opportunity to really bring that into Park City, because it's so important to continue these conversations about the environment.
And the last question for this round will begin with Jeremy. What is an unpopular decision you've made in your career that you thought turned out positively in the long run?
There's probably been a number of them. And that goes with the courage of leadership. not everything you do as an elected official or as a management professional is popular at first. Sometimes you have to prove it. The one that I go back to from my time on council is probably reducing the speed limits in town. That was a really emotional issue. And I didn't quite understand at the time why it would be such an emotional issue. And after we did it, it's been widely accepted in the community. The data that we collect shows it being effective. We've improved community safety. We've done all the things that we intended to do. And it also launched us into the Neighborhoods First program, which involves all of you telling us the traffic problems around your homes and the city addressing them with things like crosswalks and stop signs and other traffic mitigation measures. So it turned out to be great. You just have to have the courage to step through it and to really stand up for what's right for that greater good.
One of the things that we had the opportunity in 2022 to do was to pull the lift upgrades at PCMR up to council, and we didn't make that decision. And I think now, that was a decision I wish that we would have made, but now looking at it, that we don't have those lifts, I actually think now we have a much better opportunity right now to sit down with Vail and ensure that we create a new master plan with them, and we create, whatever development they are going to create is actually in line with what Park City wants.
Just use my professional life. Could you ask the question one more time, please?
An unpopular decision that you thought turned out positively in the long run.
So it has to do with values. And it was a little over 3 years ago at the Community Foundation where I work that we learned about the Roe v. Wade decision. And there was an opportunity, an invitation for us to lean into this moment and state our values clearly. And it wasn't a clear-cut decision. There was a conversation around it, but ultimately we were incredibly supportive of this statement, and so we put it out. So we got a call or two, and it seemed uncomfortable at the time because people had different perspectives, but ultimately I'm proud of what we did, of what we said, and what we stood for at the time, and that's how I plan to lead. Those are my values, and I hope that I can represent this community in that way as well.
Okay. Now this is the time for you to ask each other one question. So you will have 15 seconds for the question, up to a minute for the answer, and then 30 seconds for rebuttal if needed. After that, audience, it's going to be your turn, and so you'll come up to this mic, but please don't come up until that portion. I'm just letting you know to get your questions ready, get your shoes on, whatever you got to do. Okay, so for this portion, each candidate asks another person a question. Tana, we're going to start with you.
My question is for you, Jeremy. Over the last 2 years, we've lost some of our most experienced and talented staff, and several of them have directly tied their departure to your behavior. We've also had key partners and stakeholders step back from working with Park City and have pointed to your approach as a major reason. If you're reelected, how will you change your leadership style so staff, partners, and stakeholders feel respected, heard, and able to do their best work with us?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Pam.
Dirty question.
I'm actually glad you asked it. I am. Because I think there's a lot of rhetoric out there that doesn't necessarily reflect the truth of the situation. As I spoke before, my career in consulting and management strategy, organizational change is a big part of that. And it's hard. It's hard no matter where you do it. In a private environment and in a public environment, I found it's even harder because there's a lot of eyes on what's going on. We had to evolve the organization of the city, and we did that. Now, nobody was ran out of town, and we did lose some people I wish we didn't, but that's normal in any organization. What I can say is we also lost some people that helped us then move the city forward. And our team, as our city manager who just left said, is stronger than ever. We have the lowest attrition we've seen in 5 years. That's incredibly exciting. We have an all-female executive team. Incredibly exciting, and it's been an honor to work with Mayor Nam as the first female mayor over 140 years of our history. So I think we're well positioned for the future, and I'm excited for what's ahead.
Thank you. Okay, Diego, it is, well, if you'd like a rebuttal, I don't think one is necessary. Okay, then Diego, it's your turn. You'll have 15 seconds to ask the question, and then whichever candidate will have 1 minute to answer.
Sure. Also to Jeremy. Yeah. So 4 years ago, your yard sign said, "Be kind." And now they say no special interest. Do you believe that kindness doesn't have a role to play?
No, I absolutely do, and about a third of them out there still say be kind. I just ordered about a few hundred more. So when we ran out, the new ones don't, and that was actually an initial mistake in printing, but then we ran with it. I believe kindness plays a huge role in our community. It's one of our critical values, and it's something we all have to uphold. We can all be better together, and again, we can disagree together, right? We don't have to disagree apart. We don't have to have arguments. We don't have to turn our backs to each other. We can go to the bar, we can cheers a beer, we can talk over our differences, we can shake hands, and then go hang out at our kids' soccer games together. That's what Park City is. That's the fabric of this community, and that's what we really need to keep promoting. Without kindness, that falls apart. So I'm excited, again, for building on it. I'm excited for everyone to see that it's okay to have differences of opinion, and I'm excited for the future.
Okay, now Jeremy, it's your turn to ask another candidate a question.
Sure. Apologies, just getting my voice back here. So critics have claimed in the recent past that Bill Ed and I form a voting bloc that would control outcomes on council to community detriment, and it needs to be broken up by replacing me. But the facts show in hundreds of votes, only 22 were splits, and around 6 of those were Bill Ed and I voting together, so less than 2%. Those supported open space, fair procurement, opposed insider deals, and values our community stands for, and things that supporters of all candidates endorse them for standing for, ironically, which is great. So the question's actually for whoever would like to answer, Tana or Diego. If your ticket wins, as you're running together, you'll handpick Ryan's replacement, which perhaps you already have, I don't know, but you have the power to instantly create your own 3-vote majority. How is this not the undemocratic control that we've been falsely accused of? And after these attacks disrespecting Ed and Bill, how will you collaborate effectively with them?
Well, to quote you, there's a lot of rhetoric out there. And, yeah, no, I like how you framed it. You know, there's a lot, that was a long question, so I'm gonna try and address parts of it. But as far as the voting block, I don't know where that's coming from. Tana and I have disagreed all the time, and there's an element here that, yeah, we make it a team. We are collaborative and we work well together. So I don't buy that hand-picked candidate theory of yours, though.
Can I just add a little? There's a lot of meetings that I walk into and I feel like the vote is already been decided before I get there. And I would never want to actually do that again to anyone else.
Okay,
So, do I get
sure, yes.
So in terms of a quick rebuttal, thank you for the feedback, and it's nice to hear reinforcement that there's not a voting block today, and there's not one planned for the future, which is great. And it's also positive to hear that we can collaboratively work together to make sure that everyone feels welcome with their opinions. Thank you.
Okay. Now it's time for the audience portion. So if you have a question, you can come up to this microphone. We'll have 15 seconds to ask this question. Again, please no grandstanding, please get straight to the question. If it goes on too long, we will ask you to get to the point. Thank you very much. And then the candidates will have 1 minute each to answer. And if you could state your name and then to whom you're asking the question.
John, excuse me, thank you. John Greenfield. Diego, you said that if elected to city council, you intend to keep your full-time job at the Community Foundation. That role comes with a professional salary and benefits, and the foundation also receives funding from the city. Given that, how do you justify remaining deed-restricted affordable housing? And how would you address the obvious conflict of interest created by being paid by both the city and a city-funded nonprofit? while claiming to represent taxpayers impartially. Thanks.
Okay, there's a few pieces of misinformation there. Thank you for the question. So, first of all, I don't plan to work full-time at the foundation. I want to honor this job and give it as much time as I can. I'm going to go part-time at the foundation, and I will, receive part-time salary as well as get the stipend from the city. As far as funding from the city, there was a decision made this year of $11,000 a year for our sports access work that doesn't pay me directly. It just primarily goes into scholarships for kids, which I'm supportive of. I imagine you are as well. And as far as the conflict of interest when it comes to housing, I think that was a question.
Just about sort of anything between the foundation and your role in the city.
Again, I don't think that's how housing works. Affordable housing program is great, and it could use some improvements. We need more units of housing, and I don't see that as a conflict. Sorry.
My name is Suzanne Rosenberg. I live in Prospector, and this question is for anyone on council, people who can feel they can answer with specific answers, not just generalizations, as we've heard a lot of already tonight. A significant portion of the funding that supports our city is brought in by people who come here to ski at Park City Mountain, which is owned and operated by Vail. Many of the ski lifts within the Park City side of the ski area are outmoded and outdated. What can the city do to facilitate Vail's updating and improving the lifts so we retain our reputation as a world-class ski area and continue to attract all these people who help support our community financially?
I think I answered that a little bit. We need to have a new FPT with Vail. And so we need to actually be sitting at the table with Vail and figuring out what they want to do moving forward. We know that their base area is going to be developed, and it needs to be in partnership, and it needs to fit the character of the neighborhood and fit the character of our town, but it needs to be, we need to be working with them like we worked with Deer Valley on theirs.
I didn't hear any specifics there, but thank you.
So if you'd like, more of us could answer you.
You're all permitted to answer the question if it is to the group.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with the question and the context of it being we need to do something. And what we need to do is sit down and collaborate with Vail as a partner, right? They have a strategic plan. We need to be part of that strategic plan. And that's where we can make some strides. We have worked together on some positive things. We have direct bus service for Richardson Flats. We've worked together on the parking and traffic mitigation at the Park City base area, which has been very successful as well. And we can work together on lift upgrades. We can work together on the Munchkin lot right next to the Bonanza 5-acre parcel. We can work together on our traffic circulation. And we just have this unlimited opportunity. So what's the next step in that? It's us shaking hands and coming to positive community outcomes, following a transparent public process, which we can absolutely kick off tomorrow.
I'll try to be a little more specific and succinct, and it's the conversation came up a few weeks ago that Park City Mountain is looking to revisit the application for the lifts, and so long as it's within code, I think we should be quick about approving it given the impact it could have on the skiing experience. So thank you for that question.
My name is Jim Downey. As chair of COSAC, the Park City Citizens Open Space Advisory Committee, in 2016, I was intimately involved with the hard work to create a conservation easement for Clark Ranch, which had been purchased with Citizens Open Space bond funding. I'm asking a simple question and hoping for a simple one yes or no answer. If elected, will you promise to ensure the recording of the 330-acre conservation easement as is, not relocated somewhere else, for Clark Ranch that was recommended by COSAC and unanimously approved by the previous city council? Yes or no, please?
So yes, thank you, Jim, for the question. I led the charge on us getting the Treasure Hill conservation easement while I was on council, and I will lead the charge on this one as well.
I feel similarly, Jim.
Yeah, Jim, thanks for your service to the community. And the simple answer is yes, I support conserving the entirety of Clark Ranch.
As is. Conservation easement, we're not going to change where it's located.
The entirety of Clark Ranch without a housing development.
Catherine Fagan. As parking is moving more and more towards fee-based traffic and control, my concern is that this is hurting the locals who live within the Park City limits. We can't always take a bus everywhere because they're not routed everywhere, especially in large residential areas such as the vast majority of Park Meadows. And as soon as ski season is over, and even in fact before the ski resorts close, the transit systems for the city go down to 30-minute intervals and run that way all the way until the ski season begins again. So for locals who want to get somewhere within the city,
Could you
30-minute
please
intervals.
ask your question?
My question is, how are you going to sustain service for public transit and parking options for the locals who live here, rather than focusing on the vacation and visitor needs? Thank you.
I'll jump in, and I think we saw a pretty success. I gotta give credit to this council for executing a project that I thought it was useful to the community, which was the parking passes for Bonanza Flat. I've recently heard from other communities that do this as well, and I'd be curious to explore what it might look like for a local parking pass for greater access to areas, especially in those downtimes that you mentioned. So that's an idea I'd love to explore.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So we've talked about it on council for a few years, the idea of parking permits essentially for residents and taxpayers. I love the idea. It has worked at Bonanza Flat, and that's been in collaboration with a bunch of different agencies. It's really exciting. The argument before is that it wouldn't be fair or it wouldn't be equitable, which I strongly disagree with. I think what's not fair or equitable is not giving our taxpayers access to why you're here, right? I mean, why we enjoy the mountains, why we enjoy Park City. This place is so unique and so special. And then to say, but you can't leave your house to go do anything, I mean, that's not proper. So we can look at neighborhood collections, we can lean on our transit team, who's the best I've ever seen it. They're innovative, they're willing to try stuff, they're willing to reach our neighborhoods. We've just done it with new bus service to the Dairy for the first time ever. We have Park City Heights covered for the first time ever during our term. And there's more opportunities to come. So I think there's a few prongs here, but we can certainly explore all of them.
We could do it. I know we're running out of time, so.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good evening, fellow students. I'm sure a couple council members know me. I'm here to speak about the rail trail. And for 15 years, we've tried to stop development of the rail trail. We got a big exit last night, not doing any further transportation on the rail trail, but it seems to come up every other year or every year between Bonanza and the 40. Can you commit tonight to stop bringing up the rail trail and its continuous attempts to change it and protect the rail trail, the wetlands, and the wildlife, except for maintenance and beautification? You can do an yes or no, or answer anyway.
Yes, in fact, let's just so I'm clear, you want to redevelop the rail trail?
That's it.
I'll jump in and answer. I was part of the effort to not widen the rail trail a few years ago. We did look at some targeted safety improvements, and those were necessary, and those may be necessary in the future. However, largely speaking, leaving that corridor untouched as the gem it is very important to our community. Our job's to reflect that, and that's what I commit to do.
No, you're not going to be putting a train on the rail trail.